Have you ever wondered why two people can receive the exact same life-saving cancer treatment and one walks away cancer-free while the other doesn't survive? Because right now, across the United States, millions of patients are undergoing advanced immunotherapy, and yet only about 20% of them actually respond. Think about that. That means 4 out of 5 people go through one of the most powerful treatments modern medicine has ever created, and it fails. And here's what should stop you cold. It's not their age, it's not their genetics, it's not even how aggressive the cancer is. So what is it? What invisible factor is deciding who lives and who doesn't? My name is Dr. Nathaniel Li, and after more than 3 decades in emergency medicine and clinical research, I can tell you this with absolute clarity. The answer is not in the drug, it's not in the tumor, it's inside your body right now. I've seen patients fight with everything they had, and I kept asking the same question you're probably asking: why does the same treatment save one life and fail another? Because what scientists have discovered is something most people have never been told. There are specific foods that can literally shift how your body responds to disease foods that can help stop chronic inflammation and even starve cancer cells by strengthening your immune system at the deepest level. And if no one has explained this to you before, that means every single day you could be unknowingly feeding the very conditions that allow disease to grow or missing the opportunity to shut it down. But here's the part that changes everything. This is not fixed. This is not something you're born with and stuck with. This is something you can influence starting with what you eat today. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly what scientists uncovered, why it redefines how we think about cancer, inflammation, and aging, and most importantly, how this specific category of foods can help your body fight back the way it was biologically designed to. And once you understand this, you'll realize this was never just about treatment. This is about control. So if it's not the drug, not the tumor, and not the patient's genetics, then what exactly is modern medicine missing? Because this is where the story takes a turn that even shocked the scientists studying it. When researchers began comparing patients who responded to immunotherapy with those who didn't, they expected to find the usual suspects: age differences, underlying conditions, medication history, genetic markers. That's how medicine has been trained to think. But as they dug deeper one by one, those explanations started to fall apart. Same age group, same stage of cancer, same treatment protocol, completely different outcomes. And this isn't a rare exception. This is happening at scale. Across hospitals, across clinical trials, across thousands of cases, the same pattern kept showing up. Patients who should have responded didn't, and patients with worse prognoses sometimes made unexpected recoveries. From a clinical standpoint, that's a nightmare scenario, because if you can't predict who will respond, you can't truly personalize treatment. And without that, even the most advanced therapies become a gamble. I remember reviewing cases where everything on paper looked identical. 2 patients, same diagnosis, same treatment timeline. One patient's immune system activated, attacked the tumor, and began to shrink it. The other, nothing, no response, no activation, as if the treatment never even happened. And that's the part that should concern you, because it means something deeper is controlling the outcome, something invisible, something medicine wasn't measuring. So the question became unavoidable. If the treatment is the same, but the results are completely different, then the deciding factor must already be inside the patient before treatment even begins. And once researchers realized that, they stopped looking at the disease and started looking at the environment inside the body itself. Because what they were about to uncover wasn't just another variable, it was the missing piece that explains why your body either fights back or stays silent. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Because the real difference, the one factor that separated survival from failure, wasn't in the cancer at all. It was hidden deep inside the gut. What they found next changed everything. Not a gene, not a drug interaction, not a hidden mutation. One single factor kept showing up again and again, a specific gut bacterium called Akkermansia muciniphila. When researchers lined up the data, the pattern was impossible to ignore. Patients who responded to immunotherapy, the ones whose immune systems actually woke up and attacked the tumor, had this bacterium. And the ones who didn't respond, it was missing. Let me be very clear with you. This wasn't a small difference. This wasn't a slight improvement. This was the line between response and non-response, between the body fighting back and the body doing nothing. In some cases, tumors began to shrink dramatically. In others, the treatment might as well have been invisible. Same hospital, same protocol, same dosage, completely different biological reality. As a physician, I can tell you findings like this don't just raise eyebrows. They stop entire rooms, because this means the most advanced cancer therapies we have today may depend on something most people have never even heard of. Not a new drug, not a breakthrough device, but the condition of your internal ecosystem before treatment even begins. And here's the part that should hit you the hardest. You don't feel this bacterium, you don't see it, you don't even know if it's there. Yet it may be quietly determining how your immune system behaves under pressure, whether it activates or whether it stays silent when your life depends on it. So now the question changes. It's no longer just how do we treat cancer. It becomes what state is your body in before the treatment even starts? Because if one microscopic organism can tip the balance this dramatically, then we're not just dealing with disease anymore. We're dealing with a hidden system that controls how your body responds to disease in the first place. And once researchers realized that, they began asking an even more unsettling question. If this bacterium can control your immune response, what else is your gut controlling right now without you realizing it? So if one microscopic bacterium can determine whether your body responds to treatment, then you have to ask yourself something much bigger. What is really controlling your immune system right now? Because I'm going to tell you something that most people, and even many physicians, were never trained to think about this way. Your immune system is not acting alone. It is being directed, shaped, and in many cases controlled by what's happening inside your gut. I've spent years watching how the body responds under stress, under disease, under pressure. And what becomes clear once you start looking in the right place is this. Your gut is not just a place where food is digested. It is a living, dynamic system that is constantly sending signals to your immune system. Signals that tell it when to activate and when to stay silent. Think about this carefully. Inside your body right now are trillions of bacteria, an entire ecosystem that functions like a control network. Some of these bacteria reduce inflammation, some strengthen your body's protective barriers, and some communicate directly with your immune cells, essentially telling them how aggressively to respond. When that system is balanced, your immune response becomes sharp, precise, and effective. But when that system is disrupted, everything changes. And this is where it becomes personal for you. Right now, your microbiome is either helping your body recognize and fight abnormal cells, or it is quietly weakening that response without you even realizing it. Chronic inflammation, immune fatigue, metabolic imbalance, these are not random problems. They are signs that the system inside you is no longer functioning the way it was designed to. And here's the part you cannot ignore. Every single day, through what you eat, you are actively shaping this system. You are either feeding the bacteria that protect you or the ones that work against you. So now the question shifts again. If your gut is controlling your immune system, can you actually take control of your gut? Because what comes next is where this becomes incredibly powerful. You don't have to take this bacterium, you can grow it. So if you can't simply take this bacterium, how do you actually get it? Because this is where most people completely misunderstand how the body works. You don't go out and consume this bacteria. You don't swallow it and suddenly change your biology overnight. You grow it. And whether you realize it or not, you are already doing that every single day. Here's what most people have never been told. This bacterium doesn't come from outside your body. It develops based on the environment inside your gut. And that environment is shaped by something your body produces naturally, a protective layer called mucin. This layer lines your gut, protects it, and more importantly, serves as the primary fuel source for the bacteria that strengthen your immune system. Now, here's where it becomes powerful. Certain compounds in food, especially polyphenols, trigger your body to produce more of this mucin. And when that happens, you're not just eating food anymore. You're actively creating the conditions that allow beneficial bacteria to grow, multiply, and take control of your internal ecosystem. Think about what that really means for you. Every meal is either feeding the system that protects you or starving it. When you eat in a way that supports this process, you begin to shift your body toward lower inflammation, stronger immune signaling, and better metabolic balance. But when your diet is filled with ultra-processed foods, excess sugar, and inflammatory inputs, you are quietly breaking down that system even if you feel fine in the moment. And that's why two people can look the same on the outside but function completely differently on the inside. One is building an internal environment that supports survival. The other is unknowingly weakening it day by day. So now you're left with a decision you may not have realized you were making. If you are already shaping this system every day, what exactly are you feeding it? Because what comes next is where this becomes incredibly real, the specific foods that either build this system or slowly destroy it. So what exactly are you feeding this system every day, and is it working for you or against you? Because now we move from theory into something far more real. This is where your daily food choices begin to directly shape whether your body supports healing or allows disease to take hold. And I want you to pay close attention here, because this is not about dieting, and it's not about trends. This is about biological signaling at the deepest level. There are specific foods that consistently show up in research when it comes to supporting the growth of beneficial gut bacteria, especially the kind that strengthen immune response and reduce chronic inflammation. Pomegranate, for example, is rich in polyphenols that directly stimulate the production of the mucin layer in your gut. Cranberries, especially in whole or dried form without added sugar, provide similar compounds that help reinforce this internal environment. Dark grapes, particularly Concord grapes, contain powerful antioxidants that further support this process. Then there are foods that may seem simple but have profound effects. Fermented compounds like black vinegar can help modulate the gut environment in a way that favors beneficial bacteria. Even something as common as chili peppers, the kind you might sprinkle on food without thinking, can stimulate microbial diversity and support the growth of protective strains. And fruits like peaches have also been shown to contribute to this same pathway. Now, step back and see the pattern. These foods are not random. They are acting as signals telling your body to create the conditions that allow protective bacteria to thrive. When you eat them consistently, you are not just nourishing yourself, you are actively reshaping the ecosystem inside your body. But here's where most people go wrong. They assume that adding a few healthy foods is enough while the rest of their diet continues to work against them. High sugar intake, ultra-processed foods, and inflammatory oils can quietly dismantle this system, no matter how many beneficial foods you include. So the real question becomes sharper. Are you building this system consistently or canceling it out every single day? Because what I'm about to show you next takes this even further. This system doesn't just influence inflammation, it directly affects the hormones that control your metabolism and survival. So what if I told you this system doesn't just influence inflammation, it actually controls the hormones that regulate your metabolism, your appetite, and even how your body stores fat? Because this is where the story takes another unexpected turn. What researchers discovered next was something that completely redefines how you think about your gut. This isn't just about bacteria living inside you, this is about bacteria actively shaping your body's hormonal signals. Inside this specific bacterium, there's a component known as P9, a microscopic fragment that remains biologically active even when the bacterium itself is broken down. And what this fragment does is remarkable. It signals your gut to produce a hormone called GLP-1. Now, if that sounds familiar, it should, because GLP-1 is the same class of hormone targeted by some of the most advanced weight loss and diabetes medications used today. But here's the difference. Your body is capable of producing this signal naturally if the right conditions exist inside your gut. This hormone helps regulate blood sugar, improves insulin sensitivity, slows gastric emptying, and sends signals to your brain that control hunger and satiety. In other words, it directly influences how your body uses energy, stores fat, and maintains metabolic balance. Now think about the implication for you. You are not just eating for calories, you are influencing whether your body produces powerful regulatory hormones on its own. And when this system is functioning properly, your metabolism becomes more stable, your inflammatory load decreases, and your body operates with far greater efficiency. But if that system is disrupted, those signals weaken and your body begins to lose control over processes that should be tightly regulated. This is no longer just about digestion. This is about internal regulation at the highest level. And once you understand that, the next question becomes impossible to ignore. If your gut can control hormones like this, what else is it controlling right now without you realizing it? If your gut can influence hormones, then you're no longer looking at a single system. You're looking at a network that reaches into every major function of your body. Because once these microbial signals are active, they don't stay confined to digestion. They begin to affect how your body regulates cholesterol, how it processes fat, how efficiently your blood circulates, and how stable your metabolism remains over time. Think about what that means for you on a daily basis. When your microbiome is balanced, your body becomes more efficient at managing energy, stabilizing blood sugar levels, reducing spikes that lead to insulin resistance, and preventing the kind of metabolic stress that slowly damages your system. At the same time, certain bacterial signals help lower harmful LDL cholesterol while supporting healthier HDL levels, creating conditions that protect your cardiovascular system. And it doesn't stop there. Your circulation improves, your tissues receive oxygen and nutrients more effectively, and your body becomes more resilient under stress. These are not isolated benefits. They are interconnected responses driven by the same internal ecosystem. One system influencing multiple outcomes at once. But here's where it becomes critical. When that system is disrupted, the opposite begins to happen slowly, quietly, and often without immediate symptoms. Blood sugar becomes unstable, inflammation rises, fat storage increases, energy levels drop, and over time these small shifts accumulate into conditions that feel unrelated on the surface but share the same underlying cause. So now you're no longer looking at gut health as a niche concern. You're looking at a central control system that shapes how your entire body performs every single day. And once you see that clearly, the next realization becomes unavoidable. If this system can be built, it can also be destroyed. If this system can be built, it can also be destroyed. And most people are doing exactly that without realizing it. I want you to picture something very clearly. Imagine a thriving coral reef full of life, balanced, resilient, every organism working together to maintain stability. That's what a healthy microbiome looks like inside your body. Now, imagine pouring toxic waste directly into that reef. Within moments, the balance collapses, the protective species die off. The entire ecosystem begins to fail. That's not an exaggeration. Every time you flood your system with ultra-processed foods, excess sugar, and inflammatory oils, you are creating the biological equivalent of a toxic spill inside your gut. You're not just making a poor dietary choice. You are actively damaging the system that regulates your immune response, your metabolism, and your ability to recover from stress and disease. And here's what makes this dangerous. You don't feel it immediately. There's no instant warning sign, no sharp pain, no obvious signal. But underneath the surface, the balance is shifting. Protective bacteria decline. Inflammatory signals rise. The system that once worked for you begins to work against you. So now the question becomes much more serious. If your daily habits can quietly destroy this system, what happens over months, over years? Because once you understand that, you start to see something else entirely. Small inputs, repeated consistently, don't just affect your health, they shape your future. If small inputs repeated over time can quietly damage your system, then the opposite must also be true. The right inputs, applied consistently, can extend and protect your life in ways most people underestimate. Because this is where the conversation shifts from risk to opportunity. And what you're about to hear is not theoretical, it's backed by real outcomes. Increasing your intake of omega-3 fatty acids, even by just one additional serving per week, has been associated with an increase in lifespan of up to 4.7 years. Not through a drug, not through a procedure, through food. Now I want you to notice how simple this actually is. You don't need extreme changes. You don't need perfect conditions. You need consistency. A serving of fatty fish, salmon, sardines, mackerel about the size of a deck of cards just a few times per week can begin to shift your internal chemistry. These omega-3s help regulate inflammation, improve cardiovascular health, and support the same microbial systems that strengthen your immune response. And if you don't consume seafood, there are still pathways available to you. Plant-based sources like flax seeds, chia seeds, and certain nuts provide the building blocks your body can convert, although less efficiently, into the same beneficial compound. So now the pattern becomes clear. You are not making random dietary choices. You are either reinforcing a system that protects your longevity or weakening it over time. And once you recognize that, the next question becomes far more personal. If your daily choices can add years to your life, how are you choosing to eat today? So what does this look like in a real human life, not in theory, not in a lab, but in someone facing a diagnosis that almost always ends the same way? Because this is where everything you've heard so far becomes real. There is a case I want you to think about, a young woman diagnosed with glioblastoma, one of the most aggressive forms of brain cancer. The kind of diagnosis where survival is often measured in months, not years. Standard expectations, 1 to 2 years at best. But in her case, something different happened. Instead of relying solely on conventional treatment, her approach included activating her own immune system, shifting her body into a state where it could actually recognize and respond to the disease. Over time, her condition stabilized. The expected progression didn't unfold the way it typically does. Years passed, not months, and she continued living cancer-free far beyond what statistics would predict. Now, I want you to understand this clearly. This isn't about a miracle. This is about biology behaving differently under different internal conditions. When the immune system is properly activated, when inflammation is controlled, when the internal environment supports defense instead of suppression, the outcome can change in ways that seem impossible from the outside. And that brings you back to the same realization. Your body is not passive in this process. It is either equipped to respond or it isn't. And once you see that, the next question becomes even more profound. If your internal system can influence something this serious, what else is it affecting right now without you realizing it? If your internal system can influence something as serious as cancer, then you have to ask a deeper question. What is it doing to your brain right now? Because this is where the science becomes even more surprising. The connection between your gut and your brain is not balanced. It is heavily one-directional. Nearly 80 to 90% of the signals traveling between your gut and brain actually move upward from your gut to your brain. That means your mental clarity, your focus, and even your emotional state are constantly being influenced by signals coming from your microbiome. Your brain is not operating in isolation. It is responding to your internal environment. Think about your daily experience. Brain fog, low energy, difficulty concentrating, these are often treated as separate issues, but in many cases they reflect what's happening deeper in your body. When your gut is inflamed or imbalanced, those signals affect how your brain functions. Over time, this becomes more serious. Declining memory, reduced clarity, and emotional instability are not just signs of aging, they are connected to the system you build every day. So now the connection becomes clear. If your gut shapes how your brain works, improving your brain health may start there. If your gut can influence how you think, then the next question becomes even more personal. Can it influence how you feel? Because this is where the science takes another unexpected turn. Certain bacteria in your gut are directly linked to the production of social and emotional hormones. One of the most important is Lactobacillus reuteri, a strain that has been shown to stimulate the release of oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone. Oxytocin is what you feel when you connect with someone, when you trust, when you experience closeness and emotional warmth. It plays a critical role in how you relate to others, how you respond to stress, and how stable your mood feels over time. Now think about that. Your sense of connection, your emotional resilience, even your ability to feel calm and secure may be influenced by the bacteria living inside your body. And if that system is disrupted, those signals weaken. So this is no longer just about physical health. This is about how you experience your life from the inside out. So when you step back and look at everything together, the pattern becomes impossible to ignore. What you eat is not just fuel, it is information, it is instruction. It is a signal that shapes the system inside you. Food influences your microbiome. Your microbiome directs your immune system, your metabolism, your hormones, even your brain. And over time, that system determines whether your body moves toward health or slowly drifts toward disease. This is not happening once in a while. This is happening every single day with every single choice you make. You are either reinforcing a system that protects you, regulates inflammation, and strengthens your body's defenses, or you are weakening it quietly without immediate warning. And now you're left with a question that becomes very difficult to ignore. If your body already has the ability to defend itself, if the outcome can be influenced, then what exactly are you choosing to feed that system today? My name is Dr. Nathaniel Li, and if this is the first time you're hearing this, then you're already ahead of most people, because awareness is where control begins. If you found this valuable, stay with me, subscribe, and continue learning how to work with your body, not against it. Because the most important system in your life isn't something you're given, it's something you build.